It's a pleasure for me to represent the PMI Board of Directors at the PMI Africa Congress this year. This is my first travel to Dar es Salaam, to Tanzania, and to the continent of Africa. Of what little I have seen so far, this city of Dar es Salaam confirms my belief, my perception of Africa being a developing country and having a lot of potential for project managers and for PMI, and being a part of the strategic oversight committee of PMI. Just last week, we identified Africa as one of our key focus geographies. So I'm very happy that this is definitely our key focus geography, and we're going to be focusing a lot for developing this continent. Let me give you a brief background about myself. I have a long history with PMI. I have been volunteering with PMI for over 20 years, since 1998. I founded the Mumbai chapter. I was region mentor for South Asia. I was a part of the chapter member advisory group for PMI. I participated in the ISO membership advisory group for PMI. And after that, now, since last year, I'm on the PMI Board of Directors. I have been told that apparently I'm the first Indian citizen to be on the PMI Board of Directors, and I hope one of you out there will also join me on the board someday. I come from the construction industry. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a company that does project management for customers in the construction area. We provide project management services. We are into structural engineering, and we do a lot of training in this field. I also run, interestingly, a LinkedIn group because I think project managers are stressed at their workplace, and they need some avenue by which they can release that stress. And so I formed this LinkedIn group called Humor in Project Management. So I would like to invite all of you to please join this group and enjoy the kind of humor and also share the humor that you guys have at your workplace. On a lighter side, from a client perspective, if I have to define a project manager, I would say a project manager is a person who ensures that the project had to be delivered yesterday, right? My presence in the board of directors and the amount of travel that I need to do in this position gives me unique perspectives in helping advance our profession and how we collectively empower people to make ideas a reality. I'm pleased to share with you some insights today about the trends in this profession and the direction this profession is moving towards. I love the theme of this conference, which is Growth in Africa, made possible by project managers, because anything new that happens on this earth has to be powered by project managers. This guy out here, he seems to be a gentleman who's about 10 kilos more than what I am today. When you get involved with PMI, you travel a lot. And when you travel a lot to chapters and meet a lot of project professionals worldwide, it's fascinating to understand that In spite of the cultural and regional differences that you see worldwide, virtually every organization is talking about one hot topic, and that topic is about digital disruption. Digital disruption is not just about digitizing things. It's a lot more. It's about new ways of innovation. It's about different ways of increasing business. It's about increasing profitability. It's about knowing that our world is going to be more and more influenced by technology. Africa is a central playing ground for the fourth industrial revolution. We've already seen a lot of acceleration in Africa. There's so many regional economic growth that's happening. There's so much transformation that's happening here. And project management could provide a boost to these new developments in Africa. Just consider, Africa is the single fastest growing digital consumer market in the world. It's home to an estimated 600 million internet users, 360 million smartphone users by 2025. That's the projection. It was recently reported that internet subscribers increased by a whopping 173% in Kenya, and that too in just 4 years. So a lot of growth is happening here, and it's all about cutting-edge tools and technologies and information technologies that's fueling this growth. Some of you may be thinking that you're not from the IT sector, you're from the construction sector, you're from the petrochemical sector, you're from a sector which is outside of the technology sector, that projects are growing more and more complex day by day. The adoption of technology, even in construction projects, is increasing like crazy. Take, for example, building information modeling. I'm sure a lot of you must have heard about this technology. This is a major impact on the digital revolution in the construction industry. It's all about 3D modeling, and PMI recently published a paper with case studies highlighting the use of 3D modeling, which is building information modeling in construction projects. What this does, it puts the infrastructure or the buildings in a digital format. And when you have that 3D model in front of you, you can analyze the kind of problems, the kind of difficulties, you can anticipate all kinds of problems that might come up in a construction project. For example, in India, on a construction project, I was working for a pharmaceutical company. We used building information modeling. We modeled the building in terms of architectural, structural, and MEP services. And then we did an analysis to the software, and we found about 120 clashes in the model, which we could iron out before even the construction started. So that's the kind of impact you can have on construction industry, where you could be saving time, cost, and the projects would not have as many reworks as we usually do. This is a great time for you as project managers. It's a great time because you are in demand. And when I say you are in demand, the world is moving quickly. Things are changing quickly. And in order to convert these ideas to reality, it's us that the world needs. It's the project managers. Our research has found that by 2027, employers will need 88 million individuals working in project management-oriented roles. And that's a big number. The world is becoming a project economy. And when I use the word project, I mean projects, products, or value delivery systems. There are major upgrades happening everywhere in all organizations, and the future is in projects. Just think of some of the major projects. Sunil mentioned some of the sustainable development goals of UN. And the world's biggest challenges are in those social projects. Water demand is one of the big areas mentioned there. And if you see the colors in this map, you can see that in Africa, most of Africa, the water demand change is going to be 1.7 times X or greater increase. So Africa is going to need so many projects dealing with water, right? So last year, one of the publications of PM Network mentioned a project from Cape Town. Cape Town had dwindling water. They could have ended up in a day zero where there was no water to be supplied to the town, to the city. These kind of alarm bells were tackled by executive sponsors, and in this case, it was the city's elected leaders. They launched a range of projects to deal with this problem. They were building emergency desalination plants to convert ocean water into drinkable water, constructing water recycling facilities to recycle the water, and even fast-tracking a dam project. These were all temporary projects that had been implemented extremely quickly. And thanks to these projects, the city was able to conserve enough water, and they avoided the day zero when there would be no water in the city. But back home in India, in the month of June this year, one of the large cities is in South India, Chennai, actually ran out of water. And the city reservoirs did not have any water because the monsoon, which is the rainfall that comes in that part of India, got delayed by a month. And these are the kind of problems that we as project managers need to address and resolve. This is a project in Nigeria. Nigeria launched an entirely new city that could serve an economic hub of Africa called Eco-Atlantic. It's built on land that is dredged up and reclaimed from the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, providing housing and relief to nearby Lagos. So you're essentially seeing an entirely new city, a new peninsula, built out of thin air. Of course, this project has critics in the way it was carried out, but then we need to think different ways to grapple with the rising sea levels that could come up in the near future and impact these kind of projects. So whenever the bold vision is there, the project managers make such projects happen by leveraging technology. The person you see here is Rajan Martin. Rajan Martin, he's a strategy expert, business strategy expert, and he spoke at our Brightline Initiative conference last year. What Raja says is project-oriented companies are more adaptable than companies that focus on purely a job description. What you must realize is that you do not carry out the same kind of work every day at your job. The role changes, the kind of work that you do changes. And so what Roger Martin says is that executives are exploring the idea of de-emphasizing the concepts of jobs. A bulleted list of activities for a job description is not what we need today. He is saying that more organizations would be structured around giving knowledge workers a portfolio of projects. That's what a job would be in the future, a portfolio of projects. And once you have a portfolio of projects with you, then you would be focusing on delivering what you need to deliver. So there's less waste, more productivity, more focus on the deliverables for your job. Let's see what Roger Martin has to say. I have a small video for you.
So this idea that you can look at the company in this simple piece part way and run each piece part well and it'll add up to something good is just not showing itself to actually work. And I think it's becoming less effective as corporations get bigger and more complicated. Corporations now are of a size unimaginable even 50 years ago. I think that if we switched from the notion that all jobs are flat to a whole set of jobs are actually project-oriented and organized around projects, I think we'd have higher productivity, higher satisfaction, and greater adaptability in the corporate world.
So the definition of jobs itself could change. It's an interesting concept, and PMI will be investigating further with Roger on this. So what this says is that if jobs are going to be assigned in terms of projects and portfolios, then we could actually have out there accidental project managers within these organizations that would be running the projects and programs. And so it could lead to an expansion in the project management industry. PMI has been doing a lot of research. We have been doing research for the last 10 years, and every year we come out with a publication called The Pulse of the Profession. This is basically telling the world what's next in the project management profession. What's coming out? What are the trends? What do you need to do to stay relevant as a project management professional? And so this is an in-depth research report. We came out with this report in this year too. And let me give you an early perspective into what's coming up in the field of project management. When we do these research, we actually contact project managers, program managers, portfolio managers worldwide. We send them a questionnaire, and then we compile our research report. One takeaway from this report is that we still see far too much money being wasted. If you see, in the past 5 years, the trend has been pretty much similar. In Africa, for example, on an average, organizations waste $102 million for every $1 billion invested. And that's like a lot, that's like 10%. In 2019, organizations lost almost 12% of their investments due to poor project performance. There was a lot of wastage of money. This needs to change. This trend needs to change. It's been quite static and stable for the last 5 years. There's a need to change, and that's where project management practices being embraced in organizations becomes important. Like Roger Martin mentioned, the future of work is projects. Technology will play a big role. The journey from idea to reality is a tough one. To conceptualize ideas is quite easy. But to turn those ideas into reality is not that easy. Too often, we think having the idea is the cool part without fully understanding what it takes to make it happen. That's why PMI started the Brightline initiative. Brightline is focused on helping organizations close the gap between designing strategy and actually delivering strategy. And what Sunil had on one of his slides was that delivery is important. If you cannot focus on delivery, then projects are not going to be delivered. Research by Brightline found that 90% of surveyed executives reported that their organizations were unable to achieve all strategic goals. And that's a big number. Just 10% were able to deliver on all of their promises, and that's not a good, healthy figure. The waves of disruption are going to continue. Organizations are going to be disrupted through the new technologies. And so it's a challenging time for organizations. The common thread that we see in the high-performing organizations that are the organizations which reported 10% of the organizations that reported success are engagement of stakeholders, a very close engagement of stakeholders, projects that are aligned to strategy within the organizations, and control on scope creep. These are some of the key aspects, I would say, that lead to successful project delivery. This comes from our last year's Pulse report. But these are not the only magic ingredients, let me tell you. The one essential ingredient that project management talent must have in order to successfully execute projects is PMTQ. And what's PMTQ all about? It's an essential ingredient. You know PM. PM is project management, program management, portfolio management. But what's TQ? TQ means technology quotient. Today's project manager needs to learn technology because that's a disruptor in organizations. It's very essential and key for project managers to be closer to technology, to adapt new technology, to make technology as an advantage for their organizations. TQ represents an ability for a project manager to adapt, to manage, to implement technology within the organization. The importance of technology is nothing new, but it's very, very urgent. We as project managers need to learn technology. It's a make or break skill set that we need to have. This is more and more true. All of us know this talent triangle, but now PMI has an overlay on top of the talent triangle. It's not just the technical skills, strategic skills, or leadership skills. It's also the technology skills that need to be upgraded. You need to get upskilled in technology. So, how would you define the PMTQ? We have three key characteristics that you need to know. The first one being always on curiosity. You're always on the prowl. You're always looking for new stuff to adapt. You're always looking for new ideas, new perspectives, new project management approaches that you can actually implement in the organization. For example, you heard about blockchain. And you might want your team to know more about blockchain. So you might want to train them on blockchain so that they know how to implement it on the projects. So you have to find ways of learning. If you talk to a younger generation and tell them about some new technology, they will not say yes or no, but they will find ways to learn that technology. They will find ways to embrace that technology, and that's what the next generation is all about. They think how can they learn, how can they embrace new things, and they're always on curiosity. Second one being all-inclusive leadership. And this is the form of leadership where you bring the best out of every team member working on the project. You know their skill sets, you know what they are good at, you know where they have talent gaps. You provide them that training to close those gaps. And that's what a good, all-inclusive leadership is all about. And project managers need to embrace this kind of collaborative servant leadership style of leadership. The third one being a future-proof talent pool. The world is changing. The job that you're going to do today, the expectations of the organization from you today may be different from 10 years down the line. And so the skills need to be provided. New skills need to be provided. You can't stop learning. If you're learning DevOps today, maybe tomorrow you learn DevOps. And maybe there will be another new trend that will be coming in and you need to learn that new third technology. And so it's a continuous learning process that one needs to embrace. We would have heard in this conference many stories, many success stories, and many stories about digital disruption. Let me tell you, about 80% of the organizations have undergone a significant transformation over the past year. 80%. But only 25% of these initiatives of transformation have really been successful. 75% of them have not met their goals of transformation. And it's puzzling because organizations have been investing a lot of money on infrastructure to make these transformations happen. New tools, new technologies being put in place by organizations, but still 75% of the transformations are failing. What have they ignored? Any guesses? It's the people. It's the people aspect. It's the people aspect that has been ignored, and that leads to failures of transformations. The most cutting-edge technology is useless if you don't have the right people for the right job, with the right skills, working on the right projects. It's all about people. People are important. We don't know what technologies are going to come up in the future. If you're hiring someone for X technology, tomorrow he may be working on Y technology. And you need people who can adapt, who can learn, who can upskill themselves and be ready for the future. That's what you need, people. If you working on a project, it requires a blockchain expert, or maybe it requires someone with DevOps experience, or maybe you need someone with DevOps experience. Artificial intelligence is another area that's coming up in a very, very big way. Tomorrow you may need people working on artificial intelligence. So it's all about people with the right skills working on right projects. Just by being here at this conference, you are investing in PMTQ. You're going to learn a lot. So let me play a video.
Projects around the world I look at are the ones that are changing the lives for the better of humanity. Projects that have the famous word disrupted. I've been to Dubai recently where they have the spinning or rotating building.
Projects that are related to artificial intelligence.
Oh, for me, I still have a dream to work for United Nations.
I really would have loved to be the part of the team that put up the Eiffel Tower together.
Projects from Elon Musk like Tesla, which is combining technology, strategy, and so many personal values.
The International Space Station, a project to reach a space achievement for all the humanity.
Let's understand how organizations can actually be winners in such transformation projects. And one of the things that we understood from our research is that a successful organization was more likely to use a variety of project management approaches, not just one approach. How do you build a change-ready organization? Put technology in front and center. It's the age of technology. Have you heard of Domino's Pizza? Domino's Pizza calls itself a technology company, more than a pizza company, because it's embraced technology. If you've seen McDonald's worldwide, they've come up with self-service kiosks. All over the place, they've rolled out these kiosks in thousands of stores worldwide, thanks to their award-winning PMO. All these organizations are embracing technology. Build digital fluency across the enterprise. You need to build teams, processes, everything revolving around how do you upskill, how do you bring technology, how do you train the people in technology. It's all about digital fluency. Invest in training. That's a big part because people are important, so invest in training. Reimagine career journeys. Like I told you, to retain great talent, you need to provide them a career path. You need to provide them career opportunities. Members of Gen Z understand that their job likely won't exist in the same form after 20 years. Jobs are going to change. So they want development opportunities, and those opportunities have to be provided by organizations, and they have to prepare them for roles that may not exist today. Think talent triangle. It's not just about project management, it's not just about strategic management, it's about strong interpersonal skills, it's about leadership, it's about, things apart from just technical project management skills. Soft skills being the most important because it has the human aspect. Collaborative leadership is another one. So what do PMTQ innovators do differently? There's a bunch of stuff listed out here. It's all rooted in the fundamentals of digital skills, knowledge, culture. But let me highlight a few of them. It includes prioritizing the development of robust project management technical skills, providing ongoing project manager training, and having formal processes for developing project management competency. These are some of the important ones that innovators do differently. What's the ROI of PMTQ? The ROI of PMTQ means that organizations meet their goals in a better way. They complete the projects well within budget. They're completed on time. The amount of failures on project is much lesser. They experience less scope creep, and the failures are minimal. That's the result, that's the ROI of embracing PMTQ, and that's technology quotient. So, I would like to end my presentation with a thank you note to all of you. You're doing a great job for the profession. All of you are contributing something wonderful in delivering projects and making ideas a reality. So if someone asks you, what do you do for a living? Don't just say that I'm a project manager. Don't undervalue yourself, because what you are doing is a lot more. For example, you could say, I'm working on an automation project that will provide and simplify the lives of society. Or you could say that I'm working on an automobile project which would bring digital experiences to our users, and so on. On a social perspective, you could say, I'm working on a project to eradicate malaria from this geography. So don't just say you're a project manager. Try to emphasize the impact of what you do in this world, for this world. I would like to extend special thanks to the chapter leaders for the 14 chapters in Africa and also the potential chapters that are coming up in this region of the world. I would like to thank all of you on behalf of PMI for what you do for the profession and for what you do for PMI's presence in this continent. With this, I would like to end my presentation.